Huh?
They can't find
Thank you very much. So I'll start Mangala Charanam, chanting few prayers to create auspiciousness. So spiritual sound is called Shabda, and it's very powerful. Much more powerful than what we would call material vibrations. But even material sound is powerful. For instance, if you hear some explosion, in South Africa we're relatively at peace, but in other countries like Gaza, you hear an explosion, it creates fear. You hear someone scream. You hear the police siren. Isn't it? Police siren immediately. Problem. That's Russian. So spiritual sound is even more powerful. So we'll just say a few prayers and then we'll read from Bhagavad Gita. Om Agina Tamarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swam Vadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapatakamalom Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragunatam Vitam Tam Chajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Brijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakana Lalita Shri Vishavitam Cha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kansha Gaurange Radhe Brindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamani Haripriya Vanchakalpatrupyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo. Everyone, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivashesha Sunyavadi Praskachati Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we offer our respects to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation of God. Avatar means one who descends, and avatari is the source of all avatars. So we understand Krishna is the original source of all the avatars, such as Lord Narayan, Vyasadeva, Nrsimhadev, Lord Vishnu, etc. So please repeat, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we'll read from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 19. So we can do the Sanskrit. This was originally spoken by Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. We understand that Krishna is not some mythological, fictitious character, but actually God did appear some 5,000 years ago and spoke Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita itself is in Sanskrit and 700 verses. And it's part of the Mahabharata. I think we're quite familiar with the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. These are the two great epics from India. So let's do the Sanskrit, chapter 7, text 19. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavam Mam Prapajyante Vasudevaya Savamiti Samahatma Sudalabaha Bahunam Janmani Ante Jnanavamam Prapajyante Vasudeva Savamiti Samahatma Sudalabaha. The English: after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So please repeat. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So after many births and deaths, so this introduces the idea that we are eternal. So according to the Vedic scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, we are the soul within the body, and that soul is eternal. And we are temporarily living within this material body. So the material body is what you can see in front of the mirror. It is made up of bones and blood and fat and various other types of ingredients, stool, urine. And we are temporarily living within this body. Just like temporarily you are now here in this garage, which has been transformed into almost like a temple here. And then the nature of the body, it undergoes different transformations. The body is born, it grows, it maintains, it produces byproducts, it dwindles. Pakshaya, Sanskrit, means dwindles, and then it dies. 6 transformations. So anything material, you'll note, it has a beginning, and then we maintain it for a while, and then it is dissolved. Like your house. So many years ago, the house was built, and now you're maintaining it, and then it begins to dwindle, the bricks begin to rot and what have you, this and that. Then usually it's demolished, and then you build another house. So material things, they have a shelf life. You know what that word means, shelf life? Like your car. When they build these cars, they build them to break down. And it's called, technically, planned obsolescence. Because if they built the car to last a long time, then they'd be out of business. Isn't it? They have to build it They could build it with bodies that are thicker, but they choose thinner so it rusts. They can come up with tires that actually don't need to be replaced. But then they're out of business. Goodyear, out of business. So they plan it to dissolve and break down. The most obvious would be your computer, isn't it? You buy your brand new computer, and it's only brand new and the latest with all the gadgets and the apps for 6 months. And then they come out with something new, and then you've got to upgrade, which means you get rid of your cell phone, you get rid of your computer, and this brings in the money. So material things, they have a shelf life, and your body also has a shelf life. According to the Bible, 70 years and 10. What does that add up to? 70. So those people over 70, can you please raise your hand? So I'm on borrowed time. Prabhu is on borrowed time. Yes, we're all on borrowed time. We would like to discover some. When I drove in here, I saw Deschem, the new shopping center, drugs. So we would like to discover some drug that we can take that will make us grow younger. It would be quite in demand. You grow younger. But so far, nothing. Death is 100%. It's 100%. And although we may say, yes, so many hospitals, but they're all full. So death, time and tide. Yes. That was an English king, and his name was King Canute, because I'm from England, you see, so I would know these types of useless pieces of information. So King Canute, his advisors say, you're so powerful, king, you can actually make the tide go backwards. So there's a picture of him sitting on his throne and demanding on the beach. Imagine, La Mercy Beach. You're sitting there and you're telling the waves, back, back. So obviously they didn't go back. But I researched it a little further, and King Canute was actually very religious. And he said he had some effigy of Jesus. And after this particular incident, he took his golden chains and things and put it on the effigy of Christ. So it seems like he was a theist, believed in God. So time and tide wait for no man, time and tide wait for no woman. It's not that, women are excused. That time will also come. But it's a fact, ladies do live longer than men. They have a higher threshold of pain. Yeah. Mostly because the men are hand-packed. But also men can hand-pack as well, not just ladies. So after many births and deaths, so we are eternal, we're the soul within the body. One who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. It's very rare to find someone who's genuinely interested in God. We have organized religion. So in different parts of the world, we have the Christianity, Catholicism, and Hinduism, Islam. But this is more a type of ritualistic religion where people, they go to the church and they go to the mosque, bow down. But there's no real knowledge. You ask them, what happens at the time of death? And you'll get different answers. Some will say paradise, some will say nothing, some will say we take birth again and we're waiting for the second advent of Jesus. It's all very confusing. And then you ask them, you have a conception of God. So what is your conception of God? Is he a force? Is he a light? Is he energy? Is he a person? And then when they say, yes, he's a person, and then you say, well, he's been around a long time. And they say, yes, he's very old. God is very old. You know, he has a lot of wrinkles, you know, and he has his, like, beard that goes down to his, you know, descending beard, and the hair is white because of old age. So it's a material concept, because when we think of someone who's old, then we think white hair, etc. So there's no real knowledge. The Bhagavad Gita is presenting real transcendental knowledge. And this is why Raja Vidya is the king of knowledge. There's many different types of knowledge, and they can be split into two categories. The Sanskrit word for knowledge is vidya. Sometimes people are called vidya. So there's paravidya and aparavidya. Aparavidya means material knowledge, and paravidya means spiritual knowledge. So examples of material knowledge is mathematics, computer science, architecture, mathematics, English, even history. These are examples of material knowledge, chemistry. And this is what's being taught at our universities and schools. But spiritual knowledge is that information which explains the difference between a dead body and a live body. In the live body, there is a soul. In the dead body, the absence of the soul is left. When the soul leaves your material body, the heart stops beating. The body stops breathing. Yeah, the heart stops beating. Immediately the body becomes colder or coldish. Within minutes or possibly 1 hour, rigor mortis sets in. The body becomes stiff. Then you see the dead body and you poke it. You know? Now, is it going to complain? No, because there's no consciousness. Where the symptom of the soul is consciousness. Now, like this, I can poke this chair, but it's not going to complain. I can put this chair outside when it's cold, when it's wet, it's raining. It doesn't complain. It's not conscious. But if I spend the whole night outside, then I'm going to complain. I'm going to get cold. So hunger, thirst, happiness, distress, these are all experienced by a living being. So knowledge means to understand that within this mortal body, this temporary body which I possess at the moment, Indian body or European or male or female, is the soul, the Atma. A-T-M-A, sometimes also called the living force, the soul, or the spirit soul, has different names. So real knowledge means to understand this, and those people that are going to try to understand this are very rare, extremely rare. Most people are just not interested. You start talking about the nature of the soul and transmigration of the soul, how it goes from one body to another, they fall asleep. Isn't it? They fall asleep. Not interested. Not interested. But if it's India versus South Africa, Oh, very interested. Turn on the TV. If it's the rugby match and South Africa is against New Zealand, I forget. I don't watch these things. I just pick it up. Everyone is watching. I was driving home the one day, because I stay in a Hillcrest, and Shidama was my driver. And it was on the Saturday night. They had the final, South Africa, New Zealand. And Shidama, my driver, he said, "You'll notice that road's empty." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "It's the New Zealand-South Africa rugby match. Everyone is in front of their TV." So that's how I understood there was a rugby match. So when it comes to religion, spiritual life, people aren't very interested. Not very interested. So this is unfortunate. So the word here is Sa Mahatma Sudalabaha. A Mahatma, or a great soul who's interested in God. Sudalabaha. Very rare, extremely rare. So we want to become intelligent, we want to become smart, and we want to understand something. Let me just read what Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Maharaj, says. The living entity, that's us, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals, after many, many births, may actually become situated in pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. One realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness. So in this material world, there's a lot of variety. There's a lot of variety. For instance, there's maybe 100 people here. Now you're all dressed differently. You're all a different size. And you all have different natures. So there's variety, different species of life. We see this. So this comes from the absolute truth. In the spiritual world, there is also variety. So the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, it's full of variety. And what we see here in this material world is a reflection. It's a reflection. You go to the lake, and there's a tree growing on the side of the lake. And then you look in the water, and there's a reflection. And the reflection is very accurate. Each leaf is there. Even some of these reflections have color, believe it or not. And you can see it's a little brownish from the trunk or a little greenish from the leaves. But if you go to embrace or touch that reflection, then what happens? Nothing. It's a reflection. It's not the real thing. So this material world is actually a reflection. In the spiritual world, there are men, but they're spiritual. And there are ladies, gopis, but they're also spiritual. And their bodies are Sat Chit Ananda. You may have heard of that word, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, Ananda means full of bliss, and Vigraha means they have forms. There's a prayer by Lord Brahma, Ishvara, you may know it, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchidananda Vigraha, and Adya Govinda Sava Karana Karanam. Lord Brahma, who's a demigod, he's the number one living entity in this universe, spoke this in Brahma Samhita. So Sakchidananda, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the original controller. He's the supreme controller. Now we're also little controllers. We're small-time controllers. Here in La Mercy, seat tights. Small-time controllers. We can't control the weather. If you could, then you'd probably organize that it stops raining. correct? You can't control getting old. You cannot control disease. COVID came, many millions of people died, and seemingly it's gone. We're not able to control it. So we're small-time controllers. Then you get, like in this See Tights, La Mercy, you get the mayor of La Mercy. And then above that is the mayor of Durban. And then above that is the governor of KwaZulu-Natal. And then above that is the president, Mr. Ramaphosa. So above every controller, there's another controller. But Ishvara Parama Krishna means Krishna is a supreme controller. There's no one above him. So Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. He's eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Now we are not eternal, as I pointed out. We are going to leave our bodies. You are going to get kicked out of this body, whether you like it or whether you don't. It doesn't matter. You're a billionaire. It doesn't matter you're very rich. You go to the hospital. I've spent quite some time this year in hospital, and the doctors, they come with their clipboards and they look at you, look like this, and they look at the figures. Yes, yes, yes. That doctor will also be a patient. He'll also be in the bed in the future. Just a matter of time. And he'll have other doctors, somewhat younger, coming in and looking at him with their clipboard and this and that. Now it's all on the computer, right? Proceeds things on the screen. So we are not eternal. The soul is eternal, but the body is not. Sat Chit, full of knowledge. When you're born, you have no knowledge, and therefore you have to learn how to talk. First thing is you talk. So when you're first born, you have these 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Now think about it. The tongue, you acquire knowledge through taste, the tongue. Hearing, seeing, smelling, and then the last one is touch. So when you're a young baby and you're first born, what is the first sense that is activated? Hearing is true. When the baby hears a loud sound, they sometimes cry. But generally, they put everything in their mouth, the tongue, even before they can focus, seeing. And then you go to school. So when you go to school, what's the main sense, knowledge acquiring sense that you employ? Hearing. You hear from the teacher. So gradually you accumulate some knowledge, but unfortunately, it's all material knowledge. It's not spiritual. So on the other hand, God is Abhigya Sarat, fully cognizant, knows past, present, and future. I don't even know what I was doing, yesterday at 21 minutes to 8. I can't even remember. I can't even remember clearly what I was doing 1 hour ago. I think I was driving in the car, but I don't know where I was. Somewhere on the North Coast Road. You can't remember when you were young. Sometimes people, they use this as an argument. They say, well, I can't remember my last life, therefore it doesn't exist. So how do you defeat that? You cannot remember when you were 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. Can anyone remember when you were 2 or 3? Then from Newcastle, please stand up. It's got on the spot. Now, please come forward here. Please come forward. I happen to know this young girl. She's from Newcastle. Now, turn around, face everyone. Now we're going to give her the mic. All right, don't be shy. Does it work? Now, please introduce yourself and say your name.
Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna.
I am Harista Mahandram from Newcastle.
She's from Newcastle. Now, you're a devotee.
Yes.
How old are you?
10.
10 years old. Can you remember when you were 1? That way? Say yes or no? When you're 1?
No.
No. Can you remember when you were 2? Can you remember when you were 3? Dan, 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 dan. No? Can you remember when you were 4?
A little bit.
A little bit. Because I remember when you were 4 and your mother was playing with you in the garden. What do you remember when you were 4?
Going to the temple.
Going to the temple. It's the best thing. It's the best thing to remember. So thank you very much. We'll let you sit down, but we're going to give you a clap. So she remembers going to the temple when she was 4 years old. That's not bad. So God, He knows past, present, and future. He knows our last life and the one before that and the thousands of lifetimes before that. But we don't know. Occasionally, a very rare person may have some remembrance. Sometimes you may be at a certain place and you have what is called déjà vu. And you think, I've been here before. So it's some past experience that's coming up again. Sometimes it may come up in your subconscious and you may dream. You may dream something. So Satchit Ananda, Krishna is eternal, full of knowledge, Ananda full of bliss. So we are not full of bliss and happiness. We are in various conditions of misery, actually. Getting older, disease. We try to minimize our distress and try to increase our happiness. This is what we're doing all the time. But ultimately, we're all going to have to leave these material bodies, and then we will take birth again. And your future birth will depend on how you've led your activities. That's why every scripture teaches you to be pious. These Johannesburg people coming all the way down to Durban. So some stay in the 5-star, like the Pearl from Sri Lanka, and some stay in the 4-star, and some stay in the 3-star, and some in the 2-star, and some end up sleeping on the beach or in their car even. So what determines where you're going to stay? What's this? Paisa. Yeah? So your next birth will depend on your pious activities. Your pious activities. And if you're pious, then good birth. That means good health, nice family, money, material intelligence. This is pious. And if you're a little on the sinful side, then you're born in a family, you never know your parents. You know, they reject you, they leave you on the pavement or something. You have incurable diseases. So this is due to past sinful activities. I gave this example a number of times. Last year, there was a man in America, and his name was Cuba, the president who died. Always smoking cigars.
Castro.
So his name was Castro, but not the Cuban Castro, another man. He lived in California. And he went to this one shop, and then he had $2, and he put it down on the lotto, Powerball. You know that lotto? $2. And how much did he win? $2 billion. Now, not 2 million, not 200 million, 2 billion. He won it like that. Last year. Now you can look in the Guinness Book of Records. And his name was Castro. And then his best friend took him to court and said, I gave him that number. I told him to go to the shop. So immediately, when you win that type of money, you lose all your friends. Guaranteed. You lose all your family members. Because they all think, they should give me some of that money. So of course, $1 billion went in tax. But he still came out with $1 billion. Now how is that? He was like relatively middle class. He wasn't wealthy. He was Spanish descent or from Mexico or something. So how was it? In his past life, he also gave in charity, and he's getting it back in this lifetime. And he got it back big time, 2 billion. But that didn't mean he was happy, because there are many wealthy people who are just not happy. And there are many poor people who are very happy. So you may have the wealth, it doesn't mean you're happy. So this is the law of karma. As you sow, so you shall reap. And this is why every scripture, Bible, all scriptures, tell us, be pious, give in charity, be good. But above that is devotion to Krishna. It's even higher. It's even higher. So we encourage you to practice devotional service. It starts by chanting Hare Krishna. It's very simple. You get the beads, you just chant every day. And anyone can. There's no hard and fast rule. A man, woman, black, white, young, old, makes no difference. Lying on the bed, or when you've taken a bath, or in the temple room, or in the garden, or even when you're driving, you chant the names of God. Spiritual life has been made very easy in this age because we're not very spiritually inclined. People are not very spiritually inclined. So therefore spiritual life is a special benediction. Forget the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll come in a minute. Kaleidos Nijarajan Astyaka Mahanguna Ketanya Deva Krishna Mukti Sagan Parambrajan. That this life is an ocean of dosa, faults. It's an ocean of faults. The leaders are cheating us, ESCOM is cheating us. I hear there's no water sometimes here on the North Coast, that's cheating us. The tax man, every opportunity to cheat us. It's an ocean of faults. But one good thing, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one can make spiritual advancement. That's all you have to do. So we encourage you, chant Krishna's holy name, associate with devotees. We have the temple here in Phoenix, and like this Nama Hatta. So we encourage you to get more involved in spiritual life. Gau Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol!
That's Dhanraj, by the way. Very famous, very well known. And also very vocal. And also tends to jump up and down a lot in kirtan. Yes, very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. I could never find the stop button. maybe pause. But been devotee for 30, 40 years. Now, a few questions. Is it an offense to beg devotees or people in general to do devotional service? Is it an offense? No. You can encourage other people to engage in devotional service. That's good. We encourage. The Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna instructs Arjuna to fight. But Lord Gauranga, why does he suggest tolerance and forgiveness? It's described that Hanuman jumping to Sri Lanka and killing many of Ravana's men was an act of supreme tolerance, because he was defending the name of Ram and Sita. So when you do it in the name of God, it's all right. May sound a little confusing because we're used to Mahatma Gandhi's idea of non-violence, which usually is interpreted that in any situation, always be non-violent. But that's not true. And we do not support that. And I'll give you an example. You're sitting peacefully in your house in sea tights, and it's a Durban riots, and they're coming into your house and they're molesting your wife, whoever it is, and also molesting your daughter. Now what do? Do you sit there and go shanti, 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 om, shanti, 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 non-violence, non-violence, do whatever you want? Or do you protect your wife? What would any sane human being do? Protect. It's the duty of the husband. Protect children, protect wife, protect old people, protect cows. So if you don't do anything, you're at fault. And emotionally, you couldn't just sit there anyhow. You'd have to do, and you would resort to violence. You would push the man away, or whoever it was. If you had some weapon, you would dangle it. So you can see this idea of absolute non-violence is not supported in Bhagavad Gita. There is a need for violence, but only on religious principles. Not for political purposes, not for making money, not for subjugating some country like the Crusades. They went to the Middle East and subjugated in the name of religion. That's bogus. I'll give you another example, that a kleptomaniac, a murderer, he takes a sharp weapon and chases you with that sharp weapon, wanting to plunge it into your torso, your body. But you go to Parkland's Hospital. I went 1 year ago, and I had thyroid cancer. So the doctor, who actually was a very nice devotee, took the scalpel and plunged it into my neck. I can show you the scar. And he cut from one side to the other. And he took out some stuff and then sewed it back again. And then they looked on the screen and he realized he didn't take out enough. And I had to do it again. So again, plunges the thing in, go from one side to the other. So is that not violence? Is that not violence? But it's to save someone's life. Unfortunately, he saved my life. Very nice devotee. So you can see another example that the devotee came here with matches and lit the lamp, lit those candles. So that's the proper use of matches, or Diwali, or you light the firework. I think tomorrow it's firework day, right? Bangers. Yes. But you can also take those same matches and you can burn down your neighbor's house. Well, not exactly your neighbor, but 3 or 4 houses away because you don't like them. Because they have a dog that barks too much. Or maybe your in-laws or something. So you're burning the house down, you're using the matches. Same. So a knife or matches or even poison is neutral. It depends how you use it. You know, they use in Ayurvedic medicine, they sometimes put in poison, but very small amount. Arsenic. That's what I used to take, this arsenic. It's called Brihat Vitachintamani. It's one of the most powerful Ayurvedic medicines. And it had a little bit of arsenic in it. But it was like diluted and this and that. So everything in this material about money, a knife, matches, it's neutral. Depends how you use it. You use your money to glorify God, to build temple, to publish books, Bhagavad Gita, good. You use it to go to Suncoast and gamble, not so good. If the Pandavas and other personalities like Mother Draupadi are not demigods, then what are they? They're great devotees of Krishna. Prahlad. They're all great devotees. And the chief demigods, there's the 4 chief demigods, Brahma, Lord Shiva, Surya and Ganesh. The 4 chief demigods. They're also great devotees. Brahma is in Dasyaras, a great devotee, Lord Brahma. He's one of our gurus. He's the original guru in our line, so we offer our respect to Lord Brahma. Lord Krishna was killed by an arrow. How does this explain his immortality? He left an apparent body for those that wanted to think that he was mortal. But according to Bhagavad Gita, we understand he has a spiritual body, and obviously an arrow, even with poison, is not going to affect him. So, anyone else would like to ask? Any questions? No questions? Dhanraj Maharaj.
Did Krishna leave Vrindavan?
Did Krishna leave Vrindavan? Krishna
Krishna never left Vrindavan. But I was seeing Krishna right in the farm playing flute, and he will never leave Vrindavan, and now we can.
So, one Krishna stayed in Vrindavan, and that's called Nandanandana Krishna, or Yasoda Krishna. And that Krishna expanded himself into another Krishna called Vasudev Krishna. And Vasudev Krishna went to Mathura, and then later on to Dwarka, and then also Kurukshetra. So it's the same Krishna and yet different. Vasudev Krishna, you worship in Aishvarya with opulence, and Vrindavan Krishna, he's your friend, he's your son, or he's your lover. It's a different conception. So thank you all very much. My humble request is you make New Year's resolution to chant. Those that are chanting, then just try to chant more clearly, more loudly with devotion. And if you're not chanting, then introduce this into your lifestyle. You can start with 1 round every day. That's about 10 minutes. It really isn't so long. 10 or 12 minutes, something like that. So thank you all very much. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Anantakari Vaishnava Vrinda Ki.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.